Looks like we're live. I'm assuming it says we're live, so I guess we're live. So for the folks at home watching, my name is Dave Bracey. I guess you know that because it says it right there at the bottom of the screen. At least it says it on my screen. Does it say it on everybody else's screen? I don't even know.
I see it.
You can see it. All right. You might be in there with us. I don't know. You might be part of the inside group that can see it. I don't know how this works. It's a new medium for me, but let's just assume you don't know who the fuck I am or how I spell my name. My name is Dave Bracey, D-A-Y, like any day that ends in Y. And I am the founder of the Barrel and Flow Festival, co-host of the Drinking Partners podcast, and freelancer, freelance drinking over here. So, you know, if you got booze that you need gone and you want to pay somebody to talk shit about it, I'm your guy, I guess. You know, today Andrew asked me to come on and talk a little bit about things that I like to talk about. And what I like to talk about is beer and black folks. So, you know, welcome to And Now for something completely black, because, you know, I just assume, much like the industry, you know, the rest of this conference was probably less melanated. So here you are. Here are the brothers. And today we're going to go through. Got a couple of special guests today. The theme of this, right? Black, first and foremost, beer, brewing, and also fundraising. You know, if you're not aware, of the 8,500 some odd breweries in the country, less than 100 of them are Black owned. And of those, less than, I would say, about 50 are brick and mortar. So, you know, we got a lot of ways to go here in this industry. You know, and people like to ask all the time, well, you know, maybe Black people don't like beer or whatever. But I mean, alcohol sales are somewhere around like 14%. Come from the Black community. So, I mean, if there's less than 1% ownership, but 14% of those dollars are coming from us, there's a huge gap there. All right. We can no longer ask the question, do Black people like to drink beer? We do like to drink beer. We're drinking it and we're buying it. At least 14% of that shit. So, you know, we're here today to find ways that we can let, you know, we can kind of, you know, add some more diversity, add some more brothers, add some more sisters to this industry. So that's my introduction. You know, I wasn't, this wasn't very well planned. You know, I typically I'm half drunk and shooting off the hip, but it's a dry month, so I am very sober and ready to get into the intellectual discussions that are about to happen right now, as intellectual as they can be. So without further ado, let me introduce my first guest here, Dave Mack. He is the owner and founder of Mack Brewing out in Philly. And he's here today to, you know, talk about, you know, who he is, why he's in the industry, and, you know, the brewery that he's currently building. So welcome to And Now for Something Black.
And now for something black. Thank you very much. Like you said, man, Dave Mack from Philly. Brewery and planning is Mack Brewing Co. Mack Brewing Co. MACK Brewing Co. on any social media platforms. We have a GoFundMe right now, and we're raising money to have a brick and mortar. The brick and mortar location where we really want to self-distribute. We want to be in West Philly. We want to be in my neighborhood, and it's definitely not cheap. It's a lot of things that go into it that I think a lot of people don't pay attention to. And like you said, we spend 14% of the dollars when it comes to buying beer, and it's less than 2% of Black-owned breweries. But
less than one.
So if it's less than one for Black-owned breweries, it's damn near none for distributing. At least in my state, I know. Well, in Pennsylvania, you have to go through a third-party distributor, and if you don't go through, and what comes with that third-party distributor is, imagine your commercial beers like the Yinglings and the Coors Lights and things of that nature. It's one distributor in the state that sells it to everyone.
There's one distributor, the whole state.
One distributor. So in our state, it's one person that sells Yingling. It's not Yingling, but it's a distributor that sells it, and they sell it from Philly to Pittsburgh. That's the only way you can get it. So when you're looking at that, you're looking at distributors that 9 times out of 10 they have bigger accounts. So when you have those people with those bigger accounts, you're going to have beer that's going to sit. And when you're starting up, that's going to be a lot of beer wasted for you. And that's spending more money and less beer to lips. So I also want to self-distribute. So with self-distributing, I have to damn near make a restaurant or serve some type of food with it, so I can self-distribute.
So let's back up a bit. How'd you get into craft beer first and foremost? Like, I mean, not even to get into, like, because I mean, I'm still, like I have zero interest in owning or operating a brewery. That shit sounds hard, difficult, and expensive. So we'll get into why you chose that. But first and foremost, why craft beer? I mean, it's expensive, and I mean, typically you got to go out of your way to get that shit.
I've been probably drinking craft beer longer than I'm supposed to, or than I was supposed to, and it's like a rabbit hole, man. There's so many different variations and so many different flavors. It's craft beer is a melting pot of flavors, and I think a lot of people don't really understand how intricate it is, and how not count. It's simple. I got into craft beer because I smoke cigars. I hated to drink whiskey or anything in 90-degree weather. I went to school in the South. I went to Johnson C. Smith. So, coming from Philly, it's like, yeah, we got hot summers, but they got hot years. So when you smoking a cigar, it's like I want more. I can't drink that heavy in the sun. And I needed beer. I needed craft beer. And my first one, the first craft beer that got me into the game, I'm gonna mess this name up because it's not Victory Summer Love, but that is one of them. Victory Summer Love, and it's Brooklyn Love. I know Garrett it's probably it's Brooklyn Summer. I can't think of the name right now, but that's what got me into it, because when you're smoking a cigar, and I like to smoke heavy cigars, I was spitting a lot, so I would drink harder liquor, so it would cut that flavor. But then I got introduced to the craft beer side. It's like, oh, this could do the same thing, and it's cold, and it's thirst quenching, and I've been hooked ever since.
So, I mean, you found a love for craft beer, and so you from West Philadelphia, yeah?
Born and raised.
Yeah. I just wanted to get that in there real quick. Yeah, I mean, so I mean, you get into craft beer, you're enjoying it and whatnot. I'd imagine there's not a whole lot of craft breweries in West Philadelphia at that time, especially Black-owned craft breweries in that. So, I mean, what's the culture like that? I mean, I figure what were you the only one in your crew? Did you have a whole crew of craft beer dudes? Where did that?
Well, when I was drinking and I was home, it was just me. I kind of turned my friends on. So it was this small little microbrewery I used to go to, called Nottinghead. And at the time they sold nothing. Well, they're closed now, but they sold nothing outside of their four walls. I always magically got a sixtel of beer that I wanted. But I was going to that spot for a while. And that's kind of where when I seen the setup, that how it could be, it wasn't a lot. I was always like everybody else. They have their horror stories on when they started going to different breweries and different spots, and some people would treat them certain ways. Of course, I went through that as well. And let's think about it. I was in North Carolina, so
yeah, Florida with a church hat.
None of my friends drunk craft beer, so my goal was to create a beer that they would drink with me. A lot of my friends smoke a lot of weed. They smoke cigars as well, but they like Hennessy, vodka, Bud Light. I don't want none of
Yeah.
it. So that's how I got the recipe. All my roommates at the time, as soon as I graduated, I got my first homebrew kit and I made an IPA, and I was like tweaking the recipe as I went. And once my roommate drunk it and liked it, and I'm talking about he is a stickler. He don't want it. I don't want no craft beer. I don't want no IPAs. He's strict on that, but he drinks mine. And he's an asshole. So he's not drinking it because he knows me and it's like, oh, this is my guy, I'm a support. No, he would definitely tell me. He had my first. He said, this is fucking disgusting.
You need day ones, man. You need day ones. You need the folks that are going to keep you grounded. And I think that is important. Is and I think that's something in most Black craft lovers' journey is the friends and trying to figure out what the fuck they'll drink. Because not everybody is a hophead. Not everybody wants to, go deep into the dank, bitterness of, the IBUs and all that or whatever. So, there's a reason why Budweiser sells, as many eggs of beer as they do, because, it's palatable to some. It's not as harsh and whatnot. So you got into beer, you got into brewing beer. Now the crazy shit. Now this is the crazy part. Now you want to open up a brewery. Like that's a whole nother. So why? What's the background? What's your background and why? What skill sets are you putting towards the opening of the business? And what are some of the challenges? I know myself in my personal growth and journey as an entrepreneur, delegation is a new thing that I'm trying to find. Finding staffing, trying to find folks that I can trust that I work with. You know what I mean? Like, my hustler mentality got me to a certain place, but it's not going to get me to the next place or whatever. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the skills, when you're looking at opening up a brewery? First and foremost, why? Two, what are some of the skills that you have that you felt would be in line with opening up a brewery? And then third, what are some of the challenges that you're facing while doing so?
I'm gonna actually repeat those, but I'm gonna go with the first one. Why am I opening up a brewery? Because every time I went somewhere, craft beer, if it was bottle shops, if it was breweries, at least when I was going, I'm not saying this is 100% true, but when I was going, I never seen another Black face. I heard the music, I seen the culture. I ain't see us. So it was like, what? Oh, nah. I know. I like to make it. I know I can make it. Fuck it. If they build it, if I build it, they'll come. So that was the number one thing. Like I wanted to do it. What took me so long is because I was living in North Carolina and I definitely wanted to open it back home. I didn't want to do it in North Carolina. And if anybody's familiar with Charlotte right now, they have a plethora of craft beer breweries now. It wasn't like that when I was down there, but it's like you can't turn the corner without seeing something new getting built or getting expanded. Second question was, what skill sets do I have? Like I said, I seen our culture. I was a music business major. I worked for CBS Radio when I first graduated. Then I got into college recruiting. So in a nutshell, sales. Mm-hmm. And once I started like hitting the road and like traveling to the West Coast, this is all for work, but traveling to the West Coast, traveling to the Midwest, and really seeing what their beer scenes was like, I started seeing more people. I started seeing more of my people and more people that enjoyed some of the beers that I did. And then I was always the youngest. I'm pretty sure I'm not the youngest anymore, but I'm still one of the youngest. And I want to bridge that gap. Just to let you know, like you don't have to be sitting on the back of the boat going fishing just to enjoy a beer with a beer gut. It's so many different variations of the beer culture and just Black beer culture at that. Now what was number 3?
And then, what are some of the challenges you're facing outside of fundraising? What are some of the challenges that you're facing, in opening up a brewery? You know what I mean? Clearly, journeys. You start off with one vision, and then you get into it and you see it's a little bit different. So what are some of those differences? What are some of those challenges that you're finding?
Whew. Shit. Paperwork.
Oh, I hate paperwork, man.
Well, we in the same state, so you already know.
Yo, I will throw away $1 million if the paperwork is too high. Like man.
The paperwork. And it's like, to pay somebody to do it it's like, shit, I gotta give you all that just to do this. I'm gonna be mad if I give you this and I find out this shit was simple. Like, I remember when I was first forming my LLC, and I was like, like anybody else, millennial, let me look at LegalZoom. You said it's one click away. Let me and I look, and they said 8. I said, what the fuck? For what? A piece of paper? So I said, all right, let me look into it myself. I looked into it, and I realized, oh, this shit $125. I was in North Carolina at the time. This shit $125. All I had to do was fill out this, and this. Oh, this shit's simple. Okay. Wow. So now when you're looking at, TTB, Liquor Control Board, you're looking at all these other things, and it's like, it's what I'm starting to realize is the paperwork is meant to confuse you. It's meant for you to have to pay someone else to get it. That's how they keep the money coming in. So number one is paperwork. Number two, with my 4-year-old and him having, like, just being a ball of energy and having to be in pre-K every day online, it's finding the time to get everything done. At this point, I'm not famous, because I'm pretty sure people on here don't know who the hell I am, or
they don't know who I am either. It's all right.
But as time starts to progress, social media is our friend, Google's our guy. And when people start seeing your face and start seeing it, now people are reaching out to you. So you don't know if you need a vetting system to be able to vet out the folks that are just hopping on the fucking bandwagon, and people that's really trying to see this vision and to come to light. So building a team. I said all that to say that, building a team, because it's me. I'm solo. It's nice. Me in the kitchen. It's me canning. It's me. And help with social media blasts every now and then, and keep reposting and sharing. Thank you very much. And the next one is the time in the day, and just to being able to balance the time, because it's definitely going to take a lot of time. It's definitely not an overnight sensation. It's not going to take a year. It could. It's not going to take a year, and it may not be even take 2 years. The plan is to get it done quicker, but the biggest challenge is myself, because you're your own worst enemy. I always feel like I could be doing something else. I always feel like I could be doing more, and it's like, man, if I do more, I'm literally going to be consumed with everything, and having a kid and not wanting to neglect him, and being able to still be that fun dad and playful, and still be loving to my family and friends. That's the number one challenge, because it's like no one really understands your struggle. I have plenty of friends that are entrepreneurs. I have friends that have different type of businesses. They're real estate agents. They have their own fashion design. They have all these other things, but nothing is compared to trying to start a brewery.
Brick and mortar, man. It's a production facility, man. And then it's huge. You know what I mean? As an entrepreneur, again, I enjoy the fact that I don't have a brick and mortar that I have to, to do any paperwork or any of that. And I agree, man. Saying no is probably one of the hardest things for any entrepreneur to do, because in order to get to where we had to say yes a lot. We had to say yes when there was no yes there. I mean, when all anybody was saying was no, we had to say, well, what about yes? So to turn around and say no in order to maintain your safety, your sanity, your home life, that's huge. You know what I mean? So we are short. We are wrapping up. But appreciate all of the hustle that you're doing. Hope to see you. I know you. For anybody listening right now, Mack Brewing, you got 2 collabs coming up with Barrel and Flow. You with Trogs and you with Montclair over in Jersey. Yeah, I mean, doing big things and whatnot. So,
hey, man, listen. It all started with it all started with a beer. It was,
I'm super excited. I'm super excited to have you on the fest or whatever. If anybody's looking, that'll be on the Tavor Pack. And outside of sharing everything else, you have a fundraiser. Where can folks contribute to your fundraiser?
It's going to be GoFundMe. It's a GoFundMe. If you go to our Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, Mack Brewing Co. It has it all in the link. It's the link tree. It has the GoFundMe account, and the GoFundMe is, don't get me the line, hold on. This how you know it's just me. What is the name? Mack Brewing Co. Brewery Launch. Duh. That's the GoFundMe. Also, we're just starting to promote right now, but June 19th, we are doing. I finally decided I was throwing the cookout anyway. So, if you can come to Philly, please come.
Hey man, I got my second batch coming up in a couple of weeks, so I'm about to be out there, bro.
So I was really just throwing a family cookout, and I just sat back and said, you know what, fuck it, I might as well bring the beer out for people to try, the people that haven't tried it, people that want to see what it is and what we're doing. So June 19th. We are going to post it on our social media, on our Instagram, on when the link is up on our website, so you can RSVP. Each person has to RSVP for themselves. Make sure you have your ID, and it's definitely going to be very limited because, as I said before, it was definitely just supposed to be a family and friend function. So June 19th is going to be probably the first event for us.
Nice. Well, I appreciate your time, sir. I'm gonna let you get back to the hustle, and stay safe. And like I said, anybody looking, catch them in the Tavor Pack twice. With Trogs and Montclair, and then
Harris family, Trogs
and Harris family,
Harris family, and Mack Brewing. Yep.
Man, busy man, and I will see you if not in June, then at least in September, and everybody else can come see you in September as well down at the Barrel and Flow Fest.
Thank you very much, man. You have a great day. Thank you for the opportunity once again. Always a pleasure.
Hey, take it easy, sir.
You too.
And next up, we have this man has been brewing since the beginning of brewing. I don't know if you can see his name underneath that, but I'm sure you know his face and that famous goatee. He is the brewmaster of the Brooklyn Brewing and founder of the Michael Jackson Foundation. My next guest is Garrett Oliver.
Yeah, the start of brewing, the beginning of brewing. I always tell the kids, like, I'm 400 years old, like Bracey. I've always been here, and I'll be here when you are dust. I'll still be at it. How you doing, Dave?
I'm alive. It's good to see familiar faces. It's nice to be closer to the other side of things. Kind of slowly coming back into society and whatnot. It's a fast pace. It's a little. I mean, how are you dealing with the pace of things?
It's weird. I had my first hangover last week. I mean, because I got out there, I'm like, I'm 2 + 4, as we say. So I'm like done. I'm fully baked. I'm totally modernized. I'm vaxxed and relaxed. I got the whole thing going on. I decided to get back out there. And I'm starting like, we're going to hang out every night. Then we had like the big night. Hey, this has been great. Like, everybody come back to my place for a nightcap. And we got the mezcal and this and that. And next morning I woke up and I was like, what's this strange feeling in my head? And before, I knew I was a professional. I knew how to be careful. And, but there hasn't been any opportunity, unless I was an idiot, to get a hangover over the past year. So I kind of forgot about those. And that you have to be careful to avoid them at my age. That doesn't roll off you the way it used to. You don't shake that shit off in like a couple of hours. I'll be fine by noon. No, you won't.
Well, it only took 4 centuries to figure it out, but
exactly. You will not be fine today. No, I figured it out this time. It'll be a while till I get another one.
So for the folks, I'm sure everybody watching knows who you are. Head brewmaster at the Brooklyn Brewing. Brewer extraordinaire, one of the most famous in the country, in the world. But recently, you started the Michael Jackson Foundation. So and that's something that I've been extremely interested in, fan of, following. Is something that we really want to get into for the time that we have you here. So for the folks that are at home that don't know, what is the Michael Jackson Foundation, and why did you start it?
Well, Michael James Jackson Foundation for Brewing and Distilling. And as you will have figured out, if you didn't already know, the Michael Jackson that we're talking about is not the Michael Jackson most of us know, but the ones that brewers know as like the founder, basically, in a way, of the craft brewing movement all over the world. Sold more than 14 million books in 20 languages, was a personal friend and wind in my sails. And even though he was a white British guy, distinctly and actively anti-racist. So with his family's blessing and everybody else's blessing, we've taken on his name for this foundation. What we do is actually pretty straightforward. I mean, what we are doing is providing scholarship awards for technical education in brewing and distilling. So on the production side, we are not doing, there are many, many other organizations who are doing great work that came before us that are doing other things or similar things. What we're doing is toggling that one switch, because of the fact that we see less than 1% of African Americans in brew houses in Europe, in the United States, less than 1% even probably people of color of any type. So this is not just for African Americans, but it is for people of color to put us into the production side in brew houses and distilleries. And the reason why distilleries are also involved is that Michael was simultaneously the biggest beer writer in the world and the biggest whiskey writer in the world at the same time. One man did have all that power at that time. Fortunately, he exercised it often on behalf of Black and brown folks. And so we have these two awards, and we just made our first scholarship award slate. We started last summer, and we're proud to have gotten these scholarships out, our first wave, and we'll be at it again late summer.
So in the last year, how has the public kind of responded to this? And what are some of the challenges that you've seen in the fundraising efforts? I know that starting a new idea and then putting it out in the world sometimes can be scary and not often accepted or whatever. What are your experiences, especially since again you started this? I mean, your career is illustrious and it has expanded so many centuries. Was it hard to get this out there and start the fundraising or whatever? Or did you find it, you just said, hey, we're doing this, and everybody was like, all right, we're on?
The hard thing, to tell you the truth, Dave, was to realize that I have been sitting here, and we talked about this when we were on stage a couple of years ago. I've been sitting out here for all these years. I was on Emerald Live in the 90s. You couldn't get away from me. I've always been here, like I said, thinking that I was representing, when in fact, I was not necessarily doing for folks what I thought I was doing. And so, it's like, I thought, I'm here, I'm representing. It's like, yeah, I don't remember who it was that said it, but one thing they said, and they were talking about marches and everything else, and that's all good. But what this person says was, and they're talking about Black folks, if Black folks can't eat it, they can't spend it, they can't use it to get a job, they can't file it somewhere to get a benefit, they can't, then whatever it is you are doing, don't tell yourself that you're doing it for them, because you're doing it for you. And I was like, oh shit. Because I've been out here, and I'm thinking the fact that I'm sitting here means that I'm available to you and that I'm here for you. but that was not what it meant. And so I had to look in the mirror and say, well, if I have not gotten a single Black American applying to me for a brewing job in 30 years, what if that was my fault? Instead of saying like, well, that's not my fault, it's like, no, what if it was your fault? How would it be your fault? And it took me about 5 minutes to figure out how it was my fault. And it is systemic, like so many things. You look at our requirements. You know, you're going to run a brewery, you need qualified people. It is not a kitchen on Friday night. You're not going to burn a piece of fish or something. You're going to kill somebody. All right. You don't know what you're doing. You're going to kill somebody. Nobody can trust you. They can't be next to you. Not going to have it. So I need one of two things. I need 2 to 3 years of experience, or I needed to come to me with a certificate that says I have taken this training and I have some idea what I'm doing. That's reasonable. But here's the thing. Okay, 2 to 3 years of experience. Less than 1% of people, African American, in production. Well, let's just say people of color in production, right? So 2 to 3 years of experience, the average American brewery is only 2 or 3 years old. So where would I be getting these people with 2 to 3 years of experience who are people of color? There are almost none, right? You know, then I got to move to New York City, but never even mind that. You know, but there are almost none. And then it's like, okay, well, how about you take these courses? Well, let's look at those courses. Why don't we? $10,000, $14,000, $16,000. And then look at the fact that African Americans have 10% of the family assets of European Americans. 10%. That's not income, that's assets. That's money that you have that you could use, and that if you go into debt, you could pay back from, an uncle you could borrow from, anything. We don't have anything because things have been systematically removed from us. We have been prevented from building wealth. So we can't spend $16,000 on a course. So then you have a perfect catch-22, and you guarantee that no people of color will ever show up at your front door looking for this job. And you're sitting there saying, I wonder where they are, you know, right? And because you're not thinking about it that way. So what the Michael James Jackson Foundation is an active anti-racist thing. We are toggling this one switch that we know will work. If this person can go finish a program at UC Davis and come out with this certificate or degree that says, you know, I passed through this master brewer program at UC Davis, that person will get a job. If they already have a job, they will have an opportunity to advance. There are many people who have jobs, but they got taught by rote. You know, blend this much malt with this water at this temperature and whatever else, and they're doing a great job. But somebody comes to them later and says, okay, we need this beer to attenuate a little bit more. It's at 4. We need it to finish up at about 2.5. We need it drier. And they don't have the scientific background, et cetera, to be able to do the thing that needs doing, which means that they will not become assistant brewmaster. They will not become brewmaster. They have a job, but not a career. So we're looking to put people in a position where they're going to be able to pull other people up the ladder, you know, and eventually within a couple of years, we'll be able to reach that person who is currently a home brewer, but is an accountant and hates accounting because like me, they hate paperwork too. And I would pay somebody anything not to do that. Anything, you know, it's like, I'll get away from that anywhere I can. And I got sympathy, but we're going to be able to reach that point where we're bringing more and more people in. Right now, we're at the phase of taking people who are already in Earth orbit and putting a rocket booster on them for Mars. And then those people are going to be able to bring other people behind them. And that's what it's about. And we have raised about almost $400,000 since last July. So this past July, quite a bit less than a year. And I will, you know, give credit where it's due. It is easy for somebody my age to talk about, oh, the young folks this and the young folks that, and they don't have the spirit of this. Well, it has been mostly newer breweries that have stepped up and have said, we are building social justice into what it is that we are doing. It is part of our fabric. We're just getting our doors open, and here's some money. You know, and I'll be damned if we're going to waste, you know, a single dime of it. You know, these are, you go and look at my Instagram or the MJF's Instagram, themjf.org. You will see how serious these people are, and they will not fail. You know, we could feel it, we could see it, and they will bring other people along with them. And I will give you also your props, Dave. You know, it is partly Fresh Fest that opened my eyes to a wider world of what was going on, what I had done and hadn't done, you know, our conversations, and then started to think about, you know, last summer after George Floyd's murder, what it was that we could do. And I'm just showing up now to do my part.
I admire that. It is, you know, I do remember that conversation we had a couple of years ago at Fresh Fest, and I remember you saying, you know, you're like, you know, I'm in it. You know, we're gonna make some changes, and you know, typically people say things. I mean, especially, you know, folks at your stature, you're like, all right, cool. You know, he pleased the crowd or whatever. But then, like, I actually started to see it. Like, you know, I ran into you at GABF afterwards, and you were like, let's get into it. And, you know, and then afterwards, and just, you know, with the Michael Jackson Foundation and everything else, I mean, I've been admiring, you know, I was admiring beforehand, you know, the career beforehand, but, you know, to say something and really step up afterwards, that's a lot. So, you know, kudos again to you. So what are, you know, before we got, what are some of the recruitment techniques? You know, where are the places, where do you find, you know, the interest? Like you said, I mean, folks are orbiting, right? You have these folks that are kind of in the industry or not, you know, or, you know, a lot of craft beer fans that may or may not want to. How do you reach the folks that may be interested in this? You know, who these opportunities are for? What are the outreach for? So, you know, because I'm looking to kind of give some examples to other folks that might be trying to reach out and say, hey, we want to make similar efforts. You know, in recruiting, but they say, you know what, I don't know where to start. I don't even know where to go to find people who might be interested in these opportunities. Where have you found any success?
I started off with my own social media, and we're going to have to do some work over time to help the MJF build its own social media that is separate from mine. What I'm doing right now is using my, you know, inside the bubble of brewing anyway, celebrity, to move this needle. And then this organization will have to build its own thing. But this is one reason why at the outset of the organization, I set in place a 5-year limit for myself as chairman and president. My term ends automatically in 5 years, which means that I need to build an organization that can stand on its own without me. I could be in the wings waving my arms around or something, but it's going to be somebody else with more energy, better ideas, you know, whatever else, who's going to do this in the future, you know, so that, you know, it's not an ego thing. It's not a whatever else. And the thing is, you know, if this goes as well as I hope that it's going to be, I've been around long enough to know how this goes. It'll start getting good to me. And then like 4 years in, I'm going to be like one of those African dictators. Like, I would like to stay, you know, you know, I have the Rolls Royce and I would like to stay, you know, and I'm like, no, like I know the dark side. I have seen the way that it works, and it is quite powerful. So I'm going to remove that as a possibility from the outset, and this lights, you know, a time bomb under me to get that done. But I've just been using my own platform to reach out, whether it's personally, mostly it's been Instagram and Twitter. I hadn't been on Facebook in such a long time, really. I have to admit I've neglected that. Right now, we are starting to look into, you know, getting a social media person who is just going to be, not that I won't be looking at and writing the social media, but just to actually execute this stuff. Because, you know, Jay, I mean, like to put out like a big broadcast about an announcement or something on 2 or 3 platforms, you know, that shit takes all day.
All day. People don't understand. Like, you playing on your phone? Like, I'm not playing on anything.
I'm not playing. No, I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, I'm a million years old, so I'm not even good, right? And I'm sitting there trying to put these things in a row. It's like, oh, I got to post them backwards so they come up this way. And that's the other thing. If I'm doing a thread, I got to put thread. I got to put this and that. Like, this is not, you ask me how to get the beer to attenuate to 2.5. I will nail that shit. But you want to do social media. But the thing is, there's a form of power, in people knowing who you are. And that has been a power, frankly, that I've used on behalf of myself, my friends, my family, and our brewery. I have used it here and there for other people, but I was much more inwardly focused. As we get through this pandemic and the other dark times that we've been going through, I certainly would never want to go through something like any of this again, but it provided a moment for introspection where you just say to yourself, well, like, what are you going to, you're talking, you're saying whatever, you want to march, that's nice. What are you going to do? Like, what are you willing to actually do? And people, if someone's going to send me $10, I know that person needed that $10. Even from the fact that it's only $10, right? Like, if you had a lot of money, you would have sent more than $10. You sent $10 because that was all the money you had.
I put $10 in the gas tank once.
Yeah,
many times.
You gotta. I respect that as much as the people who put up $500 or $5,000. Where we intend to use this to do important work, and we got a killer board. And it's a funny thing, a board. The last bit of power you have is when you seat the board, and then your shit's all over. It's like you are now one of a bunch of equal and strong-minded people, some of whom are more experienced in this than you, which is why you chose them.
Yes.
And they have strong opinions and great ideas and everything else. And that's why I feel confident that this thing will run until we don't need it anymore.
Well, I admire that. I think one of my biggest admirations just in business, in politics or anything is succession of power. You have to, if you are not looking at the next generation to build them up, then what are you doing? I mean, it does become all about the self at that point. I remember watching Black Panther, and whenever he was like burning the rest of the flowers, so I'm the last one. That's when he became the villain. Before that, you were like, and then he was like, only me. Then he became the villain, right? So, I think that's just huge in politics and anything. Term limits. We need more term limits in all facets of life. So I
didn't used to believe in it. I was like, you got a talented person, keep him in there, whatever else. But I'm like, no, it's like, you got to realize it actually isn't about you, and if it is about you, then you're doing this for the wrong reasons. And you end up in that situation. And most of these people, I'm talking about African dictators, most of them did start off as freedom fighters. But the thing about revolution that they tell you is that, when you start to achieve something, the revolution goes usually one or two ways. It either changes its purpose or its ways, or more likely it eats its own children. That is the way revolution usually goes. And we've seen it all over the world. And I'm like, no, I'm going to make sure, set this thing up and get the hell out of the way, and that's actually the hard part, so I'm doing that part first before it gets good to me.
That's been the theme. I feel like before this all started, I was talking to Andrew about, delegation and bringing people on. And we just had that conversation with Dave Mack about bringing people on. And I see that you are starting with that so that, whenever it starts getting going, then you've already kind of figured that out. That's smart right there. I mean, maybe on my next endeavor, I'm going to start with the board and then build out from there.
Look, I spent 30 years to some extent, and I don't apologize for it. I worked hard to do what I've done, but I spent 30 years sucking all the oxygen out of the room. That's been part of drop that book. It's like, how you like me now? Et cetera. It's like, you're going to, no, you won't. But that's all great up to a point. And then you got to just say, all right, well, if you suck all the oxygen out of the room, you're not doing anybody any good. So, I got my goodies. Time to spread it around.
So we're coming up on the end of our interview, but for the folks that don't know where they can find you, let them know where they can find you online and also how they can support the Michael Jackson Foundation.
Well, through our website, themjf.org, or you can just run through link in my bio. I'm Garrett Oliver at Instagram and just Garrett Oliver on Twitter, and you'll see that stuff all over it. You'll see juxtaposed pictures of sandwiches and stuff about the MJF and something about here's a beautiful tree or whatever else. Eventually, the MJF will just have its own independent thing, but you can really learn almost everything you're going to want to know going to themjf.org. You'll see there a link for donation, which does run through GoFundMe. If people want to come to us and they have larger donations or something they don't want to go through GoFundMe, they can always get in touch with me on IG or Twitter or all the regular stuff, and we can process it some other way. We will figure out how to take your money and use it for some good things.
That's awesome. I thank you for your time today. I also thank you for being part of Barrel and Flow this year. I hear you got a collaboration with Cajun Fire in the works. I got some of the details. It sounds super dope. So anybody looking for that, that'll be in the Tavor pack going out to 25 states, and also live September 11th down at Barrel and Flow in Southside Works in Pittsburgh, PA. This year. Super excited for that. And again, I appreciate you for your time, sir. And I'll let you get back to saving the world.
Well, looking forward to hanging with you. And I'm gonna watch out. I'm gonna start thinking about it right now, because the day that we get together, I'm gonna watch out for that hangover. I'm gonna start drinking that water the day before. The day before for that.
Get your Gatorade going.
Gatorade. We're gonna have a good time.
All right, take it easy, sir.
All right, you too.
All right. So, so without further ado, our last and final, last but not least, we have Kuumba Smith coming in, young Smitty from Smittox Brewing, here today to talk about himself, his brewery, and his fundraiser going on. Well, welcome now for something completely black.
Man, I mean, bro, I was just enjoying the conversation, man. I was just like, man, I don't mind this running over a little bit, man. Knowledge there, man.
Hey man, we like to talk. We don't get a chance to talk too much, especially with these platforms or whatever. So I'm excited. And I appreciate your time and whatnot. I know you're a businessman and whatnot. You're a man of several hustles out here. But for the folks that don't know, who you are, I guess give them a little bit of your background, and how you got into brewing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, once again, name's Kuumba Smith. People just call me Smitty for short. I'm residing here in DFW, Dallas, Fort Worth, and been here for 16 years, man. Came from New Orleans, man. The storm blew me this way, so been here ever since. Started brewing maybe I want to say 2013, man. It kind of, what really sticks to me is like, it was right after my son was just born, right? And I was just like, I'm drinking beer. It's like, man, I wonder if I can make something like this, man. So I'm just sitting there just coming from a world of just, macro lagers, Heinekens and stuff, and then had friends who told me to start, recommending beers here and there. So as I'm drinking a beer, I was like, man, I wonder if I can make this, because I love cooking. I used to love to break stuff down as like a kid. I would tear up my GI Joes and take the legs from this one and the legs from this one and build this super character. So it's like that kind of crossed my mind. It's like, all right, I wonder if I can brew something like this, man. And then from that first batch that was just terrible, just working on the recipes. Man, it was god awful, man.
I'm glad you admitted that. A lot of folks would be like, yeah, I brewed my first one, I hit it out of the park. Next day, like, come on, bro.
No. Second batch was much better because I followed the instructions, man. Like.
Wait, the first time you was just eyeing it, you was just doing.
No. So what happened was I went to the homebrew store. They gave me everything I needed, right? And so I'm sitting there. I've like got the sheet of paper in front of me. I'm going through it, right? And I looked at the hops, and the hop said put a quarter ounce of bittering hops, right? And I didn't know the bags came in like, saying I didn't know the bags came in 1 ounce sizes. So I mean, I thought that I bought what I needed exactly. I just ripped the bag open and poof, and then so by the time I realized it, I'm sitting there trying to scoop hops out, but at that high temperature, that bitterness comes out like right away.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there trying to just scoop hops out, and so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna save a bottle and drink a bottle every year that I've been brewing, right? And it lasted about 3 years, and they never got better. Yeah. So I've been brewing since 2013, man. It's been more of in the beginning it was all about just getting to it, build up your recipes, and then from there it was like get into competitions and see how the beers do in like the comps, because your friends are going to tell you the beer is good because they want free beer basically. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, there was a few folks who, they were like, yeah, this beer is kind of off. I mean, I taste something. I taste all flavors. I taste this, I taste that. And as I started getting to know more people at breweries, that's when I started giving my beers to those guys. And then, so over the years, I was getting more feedback from the competitions, the breweries, because when you're doing these comps, they don't want to judge no fruited sours, no pastry stouts. They want like classic styles.
Mhm.
And so it kind of teaches you to brew a classic style beer to get your base down. That way, as long as you have a good base, you can start adding whatever you want to add, so that's really been the actual brew history. Just home brewing, little pot and kettle, working my way up, man.
So what is one of the most important lessons that you've learned over the years in brewing?
Just
You know,
just patience and keep it simple. I think that a lot of us, when we first start brewing, we want the beer to be done, man. It's just like you're in there checking the bucket every day or so, just see what's going on. And now it's like, all right, I know if I pitch this amount of yeast for 5-6 gallons, it's gonna take me about a week to get the beer down to where I need to like add my dry hops, and then from there it just teaches you to be patient. There's no need to rush it. The yeast does all the work. Basically, you just brew the wort, the yeast makes the beer. And
so
then
yeah.
two, just like keep it simple. I know I talk to a lot of brothers, when they want to get into home brewing, first thing they want to brew is this big ass pastry stout. They have this idea. It's like I want to brew this massive 14-15% imperial stout. I want to barrel age it. I want to do this. I want to do that. It's just like, have you ever brewed a stout before? Have you ever brewed a porter? Brew a simple dry stout.
Yeah. He's
So
like he's
yeah,
in the league, and you just want to go straight for the home run derby.
exactly. So say everybody can't be Kobe, man. You know what I'm saying?
So what have you found that you particularly enjoy? Speaking of, not everybody can be Kobe. What is your style? What is your what is your passion for brewing? What is the I guess Smittox Brewing, if folks were going to come in and you would have a defining kind of quality or trait, what would that be?
I mean, I think more or less, the darker beers, the stouts and porters are really what I'm getting to be known for. The short order porter was put out, 2 years back to back by Martin House. Beer sold very well, so a lot of people know me because of the porter. But what a lot of people are asking for is the stouts, and so I think just being able to put out a product that rivals some of the better stouts within the state, and people are asking me that I don't even know. I mean, I'm getting messages from people almost every other day. It's just like, hey, I tried this stout. can I have some more? I'm like, who are you? You know what I'm saying? and you know, and I'm flattered that, you know, that like the beer made it to like California, somewhere up north, and it's just like, man, just getting good feedback, and that's kind of, you know, being, you know, the thing is like, I don't want to be known for just one style. I want to do multiple styles well, but I think those are the two styles that more people are really getting to know Smittox for, and now too is the kettle sours. You know, I'm getting a little better with those as far as like picking the right bugs and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm a stout guy, so
yeah,
I mean, if you opened up a brewery called Smitty Stouts, I'm there. That's all. That's all I need. But
yeah,
I understand other people exist on the planet, so
exactly.
there's that. So, so how are you brewing now? I mean, you know, you say you folks are, you know, got your beers and whatnot. You know, how are you getting your beers to the people?
I mean, right now I'm still home brewing. I mean, I still get the opportunity to work with other breweries around Dallas and trying to get out more. I got a couple friends that have breweries in different states. COVID kind of threw a wrench in that program, but I want to definitely get back up to Pittsburgh and brew with Grist House again, man. You know, that was really dope. But look, you know, now it's just brewing at home, making just 5 gallon batches, canning those up. You know, a couple friends we went in on like a can seamer, so I'm able to can instead of bottling and just pass out cans. You know, and then when I do a beer with these breweries, it's like, hey, go pick the beer up, because if the beer sells well, they may bring me back and we may brew something else. So that's really, you know, how I've been getting product out. But most of the times it's like I'll like have you know, I got a buddy down in like Houston. I'll like give him a case of beer and he'll just ship it out to everybody. You know what I'm saying?
So
So
what would you say is the, you know, outside of fundraising, what is some of the, you know, more difficult parts of building your brewery, building your brand, building your business, getting that awareness out there?
just being a good, you know, just having a good, you know, brand, a good image, and just being a good person, man. Because I've seen people trying to get, you know, businesses started and like they're jerks. You know, it's kind of like, and you know, it's like, all right, how are you going to change that around? Because if you're being, you know, rude to your clientele, who's going to want to come buy your product? So too, and just trying to work on the best product that I can too, you know, not trying to put out no trash. You know, if I brew a beer and the beer's bad, I'll just dump it, you know, versus passing it out to people and then have them start posting pictures. It's like, oh man, look at this beer's trash, and all of a sudden it's like I can't even sell beer before I'm open, you know what I'm saying? So, but you know, too, and just trying to get the brand out there, man. Just merch, stickers, just trying to get people to spread the word, man. That's probably been the second thing behind funding, you know, and just two, it was just trying to find people to bring to like the team too, you know, because you know, I had to be very patient, be very picky on who I bring in, because I was getting a lot of people. Once the Kickstarter started going, I got emails out the wazoo. Everybody's like, "Hey, I want to be a partner. I want to be a partner." It's like, you know, how much are you putting up? You know, and like they're like 10 grand. I'm like, man, you know, I don't want to turn money down, but you know, at the
That'll
end of
get
the
you a
day,
beer.
if you're coming in with like, you know, six zeros behind there, 5 zeros, it's like, all right, maybe we can talk. But for 10 grand, it's like, I have this other revenue sharing. You can go that route, but they're all like, I don't want revenue sharing. I want equity.
That'll
I'm
get
just
you
like,
a bench. Yeah, I mean, your name on a bench. You know what I mean? You want to sponsor a table somewhere, like
right. So too, it was just kind of like, all right. So I think the hardest thing in the beginning was just working on like the plan, you know, because you can start having these dreams and visions about how you think your brewery should be, but once you start writing it down and seeing the cost, what is going to require from the states, licensing, permits. Some cities don't want a brewery, you know, and it's just like, man, you know, and since some, you know, some cities don't know how to open a brewery. And so it's kind of like once you start researching all that stuff, you're like, man, do I really want to do this? But then you go back to your day job and like, man, I got to get out this place.
Yeah, well, I know I don't want to do this. So yeah, I mean, like,
Right. Yeah. So really that was the thing. Is like once I started working with the small business development, they helped me put my plan together to where it made sense, because I was just using some business plans, software. It's like you sell X times X, you make X. I was like, oh shit, I'm about to be rich, son. But they were like, let's make this look a little more realistic, and let's make your numbers seem like, well, if you have an off year or an off month. And so once I did that, and then once I was able to find two guys to like come on board with me who have that beer experience, that beer industry knowledge, like the homie was talking about, it's like you're trying to get a brewery open. They don't want to just give money to just somebody who's never worked in a brewery before. So now that I have people on board with me, they have that experience. I think things right now are really going to start to like take off.
So speaking of the city, and before we get out of here, how is the brew scene down at DFW? Is there room for more breweries? And
Okay.
how has I know a lot, like you said, business. A lot about business is finding the right location and then having
True.
a community that is welcoming enough, because I mean, a community can make or break you. I mean, unless you got bullies to come in and just railroad through some politicians, like the community can get you on up out of there or make it so difficult that you just fuck it. So, what is the scene of the DFW down there?
So as far as like the whole Dallas Fort Worth area, right? So Dallas has plenty of breweries. They have, I think, close to 20 or 30, right? So I live in Allen, which is probably 17 miles north of Dallas. And so as you start coming up more to like the burbs, basically, it starts to become like a craft beer wasteland, right? So I had a brewery right down the street from me. The beer was, but they had some legal issues. The guy went and killed somebody, bro. So
that might get you in the court somehow.
So basically, we have a very popular brewery, probably 10 miles north of me. And it's probably not 10 miles, less than 10 miles. But as you start going south, there's like nothing. And I'm in one of the more more wealthy counties within Dallas, Fort Worth area, and people have been telling me, it's like, dude, we have nothing up this way. If you build something, we'll come. And so it's just like, all right, I'm trying to get this thing rolling. So because within a 10-mile area, there's not a single brewery. And, a lot of us don't want to have to drive. I mean, for example, Turning Point, they're putting out some crazy stouts, right? But they're like 45 minutes away. And you go there, you start drinking those like big ass stouts. It's like that's a long ride back home. So, we kind of want something closer to where we don't have to feel like we have to drive, 20, 30 minutes to go to a brewery. And so that's what it's like where I live at. It's like we can do very well, but one, we have to find a spot. I think we're getting close to narrowing down a few spots, and then two, we have to have the support from like the city, the neighborhoods and stuff like that. So I think we do, because I keep getting a lot of people just, hey man, we're rooting for you. We need this in Plano, Collin County. We love Dallas. There's a lot of stuff to do in Dallas, but we want something to do here. And so that's really why I'm trying to fill that void,
Yeah, no, I mean, I live in a dry town. There's actually like no beer or alcohol allowed in my town or whatever sales. And
that's
actually, like the closest brewery to me is about 25 minutes away. So, when I tell people that, they're always like, "Oh my God, what?" Like, but it's crazy. And I've been saying the same thing. If anybody that's listening to this right now, please come to Beaver, PA, and open up a brewery, man. Because it is more of a, well, it's an older town, so I mean, like they've got some money and they've got some, like they ain't got no beer or whatever. There's no competition. Please, man, I would love
exactly.
Like maybe walk to a brewery or even like a 5-minute drive or something, like Uber or something like that. Like it'd be dope. So yeah, so I appreciate your hustle, sir. I appreciate your time and whatnot. for the folks that you know, want to support, where can they find you? And where can they find your fundraiser?
Cool. So if you want to get more info on like what we're trying to do, you can go to www.smittox.com. That's Smittox brewing.com. We have a link to the main site, the Main Vest site there. So we're currently raising funds through Main Vest right now. Our target is, our minimum raise is 50. Our maximum is 150. We're about 20 grand short of 50 right now, about 42 days left. I'm feeling very confident that like we'll hit it. And if you want to check me out on the gram, it's smittoxbrewing.com. I'm on Facebook as well, Smittox Brewing. If you have questions, you want to know more about the company, more of like what we stand for, definitely hit me up, man. I'm not 100% open book when I'm gonna tell you my life story, but anything that you want to know about, you know, why we're doing this, you know, the beer, you know, the people who's going to make this brewery happen. I mean, the reason why we're doing it is just because, one, you know, there's not enough Black people in, you know, brewing, period. You know, it's kind of like there's a couple breweries around here that have, you know, some like a nice, good staff, people of color working there. But as far as like ownerships, you know, we just got one brewery out in Fort Worth. They're, you know, I think they're about 50% black owned, Neutral Ground Brewing. So if you guys are out there, go like check them out. You know, it just need more people of us, you know, because a lot of times I've heard stories, you know, people don't want to go to a certain place because they'll go in there, you know, they don't see us in there. It's just like, you know, why don't you go talk to them and see how we can get more people into brewing, because a lot of people want to be more inclusive. They just don't know how, you know.
Nice.
So,
So I mean, if you wanna hit him up about the brewery or whatever beard oil this man is using, because that shit is spectacular, feel free to hit him up. I'm about to slide in your DMs and find out my damn stuff, man. But
cool.
I appreciate your time, sir.
I appreciate it, man.
If anybody's looking, I heard you got a collab coming up with War Cloud Brewing.
Those are the homies, man.
Festival called Barrel and Flow.
Yes.
It's apparently a Black-owned beer festival happening.
Who knew? Who knew those guys like beer?
And yeah, I mean, sometimes September 10th through the 12th in Pittsburgh, barrelandflow.com.
Yes.
And you know, and I'm sure folks will be able to catch you there as well. Yeah.
Most definitely, man. Most definitely. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. As long as as long as the city says you guys can have it, I'll be there, man. Masked up, gloved up.
For sure, sir. Well,
yes, sir.
I appreciate your time, sir. I'm gonna let you get going and whatnot. I'm gonna go smoke some weed because I'm on my dry month. So
I hear you, bro. I hear you.
But I appreciate you, sir. You stay safe.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Dave. You have a good one, man.
You too. And I guess this is us signing off. So if you're still watching, turn your shit off. We'll watch something else. We out of here, man. This was something completely Black, and we out.
All right. Go holler at you, man.